The big summer that we were promised has just got a whole lot bigger.
Shit just got real.
Virgil van Dijk was lying to us because he told us that it was going to be a big summer for Liverpool, but Virgil, that's just not true, is it? This is a ginormous summer and we're only just getting started. Jeremy Frimpong's through the door. Florian Wirtz, nearly forgot his name despite the fact I've only discussed him for the last 3 weeks, exclusively only just talked about him. Florian Wirtz is through the door. Milos Kerkez will soon follow him through the door to Liverpool. But a little curveball thrown in there over the weekend when it became clear that Andy Robertson was probably heading for the same door in the opposite direction, and Atletico Madrid are in talks to sign the Liverpool left back. We'll come on to that later. This video doesn't really have too much structure to it, which I probably shouldn't say, but it does have an overriding theme, and that is cup of tea and talking transfers. And the main question I want to ask is, Wirtz and Kerkez are done, so what's next? Is it a number 9? And whisper it very quietly, Alexander Isak. Hugo Ekitike, name comes up a lot. Is it a defender? The Liverpool need to sign a defender. Jared Bramthwaite, a name that's been on the radar for a while. Is that one too tricky? Who else could Liverpool go for? What about Robertson if he leaves? Are Liverpool's left-back options good enough? Is Kerkez and Tsimikas, for example, an upgrade on Robertson and Tsimikas? Well, I think it is, but it's certainly not as good, in my opinion, as Kerkez and Robertson. So there's a lot to get into. There's a lot of questions to solve. The jigsaw puzzle at Anfield has notched up in terms of the difficulty of solving it, or certainly from where we stand, solving it, because there's so many movable parts. Darwin Núñez has been linked with every single club in Italy over the last few days. Jarell Quansah has been linked with a move away. Luis Diaz's future is still not overly certain. Federico Chiesa has been linked with, well, I said every club in Italy for Darwin Núñez, so I can't say that again, but every club, and then some more in Italy for Federico Chiesa. So there's a lot of moving parts. Now, someone sent me a tweet the other day basically about Slot's first season at Feyenoord, and he let go so many players, I think it was 7 or 8 in the window after. Obviously not all by choice, because Feyenoord are a bit of a selling club, or a bit lower down the food chain than Liverpool, or a lot lower down the food chain realistically. But then he went out, he did a big rebuild, massive overhaul of the squad, and Feyenoord won the league title. So maybe Slot's planning similar here, but the 3 signings that have already come in or will come in, when they're confirmed, when the I's have been dotted and the T's have been crossed, represent brilliant business for Liverpool. But the word that I keep getting is that that is not the end of things just yet. They will have to obviously balance those books, as I mentioned in every video, but Wirtz, Kerkez, Frimpong, Mamardashvili is not the end of Liverpool's shopping list. Now, obviously, when you go around Sainsbury's with your shopping list, you may look down in your trolley and think, I don't know if I can afford the rest of what's on here. So maybe Liverpool will do that, but the money is still there. They didn't spend any money last summer. PSR is not a massive problem as long as they do sell players. Obviously, forgot to mention a minute ago, Harvey Elliott is another one that could leave and generate some funds. Kelleher has already left. Trent has already left. 10 million, 18 million each. So the money's coming back in. And I don't think money is a massive issue for Liverpool. The noise that I've got is that they are not done and they will go for a number 9. So should we talk about Alexander the Great, Alexander Isak, who I believe is, well, he's unbelievable, isn't he? He's like, in terms of strikers, Alexander Isak is like the Michelin star restaurant, ribeye, prime cut, steak, all the trimmings, beautiful. And Hugo Ekitike, with all due respect to him, he's more of a burger van, obviously. which could be good, but we just don't know. I think burgers are a bit hit and miss, but they can be brilliant. Hugo Ekitike could be a brilliant signing, but we don't know too much about him yet. Whereas Alexander Isak, we know a lot about him. And what we know is he's one of the most complete forwards in the world, one of the biggest bagsmen in the Premier League over the last 2 seasons. If you think across the league in terms of the goal scorers, it's Salah, it's Haaland, and it's Isak. They're the 3 that you try and get into your fantasy teams at the start of the season if you can afford them. Alexander Isak obviously plays through the middle. When he's injury free, he's one of the best strikers in the world. And I think he's even outlived his potential that he had when he moved to Newcastle, because he was very highly rated, but he's even better. But the big question with Isak is, how much money do Newcastle want, and can Liverpool afford it? And then thirdly, will they want to pay that money? Well, don't really know the answers to those questions, do we? What we can say is Newcastle don't want to sell him for cheap. I would say it would have to be, let's say, ballpark figure 130, 140 million. Are Liverpool realistically going to pay that in a summer where they've signed Florian Wirtz? It's hard to see, but I wouldn't completely rule it out. Are Newcastle realistically going to sanction a sale, especially noting the fact that they have got into the Champions League for next season? Again, same answer. It's hard to see, but wouldn't completely rule it out. I think the sole thing here lies with Alexander Isak. What does he want? If Liverpool do go knocking for him, he may let them in. He may have a conversation with them. As far as we're aware, his agents, his people have probably already spoken to Liverpool a number of times, as well as a couple of other clubs as well. It seems very tricky, and I'm not going to say I've got a sneaky feeling on it like I did with Florian Wirtz, but the noise is always there. It's always just people texting, oh, what about Isak? What about Isak? And it's not going away, but there's nothing to suggest Liverpool are ready to step up their pursuit of him just yet, or at any point this summer. But it's one just to maybe pencil in for a later date, because I think Liverpool will sign a striker this summer. The alternative option, of course, is Hugo Ekitike, who has great stats, a good profile, very young, good reviews from people who have watched him, including Nathan, who was on my channel the other day. Nathan Salt, my colleague, talking about Harvey Elliott, and he's watched Hugo Ekitike a few times live, and he's written pieces about him, and he tells me that he's brilliant and he'd be a great signing for Liverpool. So we'll take his word for him. We'll take Nathan's word on that one. But I'm just not overly convinced by Ekitike just yet. Obviously, if the links step up, then I would have to go and watch him. I'd have to speak to people who know him, get in touch with his agent, try and find out a bit more about him. But it is a name that keeps coming up, so we definitely shouldn't ignore it, even though he's linked with many different clubs as well, Chelsea, Man United, European teams as well. But he's worth a lot of money, and there's just part of me that thinks if you're going to pay 80 or 90 million for Ekitike, why wouldn't you just push the boat out slightly and pay for Isak? But then again, I'm not running business, and maybe if I was, every club would fall foul of PSR guidelines. But yeah, it does seem like Liverpool are going to sign a striker this summer, or maybe should correct that. It seems like they will go for a striker this summer, regardless of the money they've already spent. Obviously, it all depends on exits, and we're very much expecting Darwin Núñez to leave. I'm not aware of any official bids on the table just yet, but it's clear a lot of clubs want him. Napoli, as I said in a video a couple of days ago, said Napoli were keen. That one seems to have ramped up a bit over the weekend while I've had my feet up, cooking barbecues and the like. AC Milan, Atletico Madrid, was it Inter as well? I can't remember. But a lot of clubs are keen on Darwin Núñez, and maybe Liverpool will get a good fee for him. As I said, they want about 65 or 70. I don't think they'll get that realistically, but it's worth trying. And, 50 million for Darwin wouldn't be the end of the world. Obviously, it would represent a failed bit of business if they sold him for that much. But I think if they can get that in, they've obviously already got 18 for Kelleher, 10 for Trent. Maybe get a bit for Elliott. Kwanzaa, as we mentioned at the start, maybe a tiny bit for Robertson. Tyler Morton, Ben Doak could all leave. So it adds up, and then it doesn't, Liverpool's outlay in terms of the money they've spent on players doesn't look quite so heavy, let's say. But I think we should talk about that Robertson thing a bit, because it annoyed me a bit actually, because a very good source of mine texted me on Wednesday or Thursday last week to say just keep an eye on Robertson and Atletico. What did I do? I didn't keep an eye on it. I texted a few people who might know the answer. I didn't chase them up for replies when they ignored me, and then lost the story. Obviously, I'm not the sort of journalist that cares too much about that sort of thing, but it would have been nice to have that story first. I mean, Anfield sector Josh has known about it for a while as well, so realistically I had enough to write a story with, but just wanted to be sure from Robertson's side, first of all, that it does seem like that one is heading towards Robertson going to Atletico, but it's not done by any stretch of the imagination as I record this video. And that tea's going cold now. But it adds a different dynamic to the transfer window for me, because Robertson, great servant for Liverpool, unbelievable leader in the dressing room, great character, a good player, not anything near his best, but he's not as quite as terrible as some people may believe this season. And I spoke to Hungarian chap last week, and he was saying how much Milos Kerkez is looking forward to learning off Andy Robertson. So maybe I'll have to revise that for when that piece goes out and say Milos is looking forward to learning off Kostas Tsimikas. Now, we were all sort of expecting Kostas to be the one that left this summer, even though there was no real concrete links with that one. Leeds, I think, are definitely interested, and I'm sure that's still the case. But would Liverpool sell both him and Robertson in the same summer? Well, they'd be fools to do so, I think, unless they're obviously signing another left back. And again, can't see that happening either. 2 left backs in one window doesn't seem very likely to me. But it's a big loss, Robertson leaving. But I do think it's probably the right time, because, well, actually, no, that's wrong. I think next summer would have been the perfect time. He gets that extra year, he sees out his contract, he steps up in the leadership group maybe because Trent's left, he gets to tutor Kerkez, because you can't have Kerkez playing every single week. And I think it would have just been perfect for all parties if he just stayed for one more year. But fair play to him. Listen, he wants to go and experience something else before he retires. He's 31, he maybe sees the fact that Kerkez is coming in as, maybe this is the right time to leave for him personally, because he probably knows deep down that he's maybe lost a yard of pace. He's maybe let a few too many defenders go at the back stick this season. He's maybe come out second best in 50-50s a few too many times this season. So maybe he knows, and maybe he wants to finish on a high with winning the Premier League. Obviously, I can see the allure of going to play for a big club like Atletico. It's completely different to Trent, so we're not going to compare the two. But I don't think Liverpool fans should have a bad word to say about Robertson, mainly just because what a servant he's been, and his age profile and his situation with Kerkez coming in makes it completely different. If Robertson wants to go, then fair enough, he's going to challenge himself in a different league, experience a different culture. I'm sure him and his family would love life in Madrid. Conor Gallagher's obviously at Atletico doing well. Kieran Trippier went there, and I genuinely think when he went there, he added another 4 or 5 years onto his top level career. He came back brilliant at Newcastle, brilliant for England as well in the what tournament was it? Was it Euro 2020 or Russia 2018? Not sure on the timings quite there, but one of the two. So maybe Robertson sees that. Maybe thinks 2 years at Atletico and then retire in a couple of years at Celtic. Maybe that is the plan for him. But fair enough, if he goes, it just changes the dynamic of the window, as I said. And then Jarell Kwanzaa with the uncertainty over his future. And you wouldn't even say that Joe Gomez's future is certain. And you definitely can't say that Ibrahima Konaté's future is certain. Either Gomez or Konaté, none of them are certain really. Maybe for next summer it's a bit different, but it just makes the size of this rebuild just feel even bigger, because Robertson is an unexpected piece of the jigsaw that's being pulled out here. No one really saw that coming. Obviously, there've been whispers that hadn't quite leaked out just yet for the last 2 weeks. But if you ask yourself 2 months ago, no one really saw Robertson leaving this summer, realistically. I think everyone thought that Tsimikas would be the one to go, as I mentioned. So Liverpool just have to be careful here that they don't get rid of too many players, that the squad becomes a bit light. You know, I can understand getting rid of Elliott if they do, because Wirtz has replaced him. I can understand getting rid of Nunes because the striker will be replacing him. The same with Kelleher, Mamardashvili, obviously. So I just think if Kwanzaa goes, if Robertson goes, then I think they need another defender. So maybe that thing I said on Friday's video about a number 9 and the defender, maybe that will end up being right. Obviously, Jared Bramthwaite is one that's been mentioned. Will Everton sell to Liverpool? Can't see it personally. 70 million should get a deal done for Bramthwaite. A lot of clubs are interested. As far as I'm aware, Liverpool are one of those, but again, would Everton sell to Liverpool? So I think that probably wraps up this video. A lot of jigsaw pieces, not really sure where they fit into the puzzle. Robertson leaving maybe leaves more questions than answers in terms of this summer window and the big rebuild ahead. And obviously, striker, defender, who knows? I think Liverpool will be active though. And if you want to find out all about the latest developments, then subscribe to the channel. I think at the time of recording, I'm on 2,999 people. So please become the 3,000th subscriber. And thank you very much for your support. Maybe another live coming in the next few days. But have a good week, all of you.